Getting you guys in, we'll go ahead and start. First item, let's consider approving the minutes held on June 24th.
I'll make a motion we approve those minutes and sign the warrant.
Motion's been made, seconded by Mr. DeVore. Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
You're going to vote on it.
All in favor, sorry, I didn't go on, I was thinking vote on that. Next agenda is replacing an SCBA compressor.
I actually have Chief Coughlin here to speak about that. That's a compressor he has in the fire station, one that's not used, that's actually broke down. Chief, it's all yours.
So the SCBA compressor, that's the one that does our breathing air, or our breathing apparatus. That went out of service back probably in March. It's been to 2 different shops. Both have said that it's beyond repair. It's one we got on a grant 12 years ago. The unit they don't make anymore, of course. Can't get parts for it. They're recommending replacement. A new one would be $20,000. They do have a used unit that we can get for $5,000. And they say that it's a Blower, it's a different model. It is compatible with our fill station. And right now, we have a loaner that we've been using. The loaner, however, doesn't fill the bottles all the way, doesn't top them off totally. So we're recommending to purchase the used unit for $5,000. That includes setup, air tests, delivery, the whole works. And that'll get us back up and running where we need to be.
Do we know
So $5,000 old?
Do we know how old that is?
I don't remember the age, I want to say 7 or 8 years, something like that.
Done?
Do the types of grants come up periodically that we use to buy the new one? Is it something we can be looking for? You know, $5,000 is reasonable, but it'd be nice to have a plan that in 3 or 4 years when we,
Yes.
if we can buy a new one 2 years from now.
There are grant opportunities, and that's why Gary and I talked about it. One reason that we're not recommending replacing new at this time. Plus, you know, there's no reason this machine won't get us by. It should, if it's 7 or 8 years old, it's got, you know, should have at least 5, 6 years, good years in it. And you know, they're saying that unit, if something does need to be repaired, it's a much easier unit to repair than the one that we had previously.
Good.
So.
Where are you getting the loaner from?
From Fire Tech and Safety, they're one of our vendors, and they're the same ones that will furnish the used unit. And they let us use that at no charge.
I'd make a motion we authorize the town manager to spend $5,000 to get a second-hand compressor to use.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
As far as funding, I'd recommend that we transfer that money out of fund equity because we didn't budget for that this year.
Yep.
So if I could get
We'll add that to my motion then.
Okay.
All set, good. Next item up is the Ms. Schuman update.
I have Dave Savage to talk about that.
Okay, back in January, we was here. There was several cars, boats, all kinds of junk there, refrigerators through. There was a period of time was going to do a consent agreement that COVID said that never did get done. Ms. Schuman did remove some of the property. Some of the boats are gone, the refrigerators are gone, 2 of the vehicles are gone. And 2 of the vehicles left in January, you guys see the pictures of, they were unregistered, so they met the definition of inoperable vehicles, they met the definition in the ordinance and the state law. So them were also included. She has since registered them, and one of them I know she's using the van, looks like it sits there, but it is registered, so that takes it out of the picture as a violation also. Since then, as the last meeting, you guys also see the pictures of the wood slab fence that she built to screen her property. And our property maintenance ordinance states in there, you have a copy of it, I provide a copy.
Second page.
And the very first page I give you, if you look at down what the little asterisk is, that's really what the ordinance says. That fence allows them to have material intended for private use of property owned may be stored if it's screened from the neighbors in the public way. she has done that with some of this other stuff, and our ordinance does not define material.
You should have an ordinance there, John.
Yes, there's a copy of the complete ordinance, but
Big ordinance, and just turn the page, you see where I yellow highlighted it.
the one I'm referring to is the bottom paragraph of the very first page. So, material can be anything. So with a fence there and the cars being registered and eliminating 2 of them, that takes out of the junkyard law, right, at Title 17, it reverts us back to the town ordinance, the property maintenance. The property maintenance ordinance has this exclusion in here. If it's screened, they can have it. So we're at an impasse on, it technically is meeting the definition where she currently is today.
I went up and looked at that property today, and I'm gonna be honest with you, in my opinion, it doesn't look that bad. You know, she's got the grass all mowed up, they've got a fire pit out back with a few chairs around it. There's some junk out there, but we have properties in town that are brutal. You know, she's actually worked to try to correct this issue, in my opinion. She didn't correct it completely, but the fence kind of takes out of the equation. Dave and I were talking about this earlier. You know, we've got a limit on structures over 6 feet. I think if we utilize that and go up and get her to go and snap a line on that and cut that thing off so it's 6 feet long, 6 feet high, uniform all the way across, it probably would look halfway decent. And if you haven't had a chance to go up and look at it today or yesterday or whatever, it would be in your best interest to see what we're talking about. You can't take pictures to do it any justice because of the layout of the road and everything else. It would be better just to drive up and get an eye on it. But I wouldn't be totally offended personally if that was across the road from my house as the condition it's in. Now beforehand, I would have a problem with it, but I think she has done something correct. I mean, property maintenance, as you know, is a battle. I mean, we've had property up at 8 Smithfield Road. Had he not made a mistake on taxes, we would still be dealing with that. These people who have property maintenance issues, that's the way they live, you know, and it's a battle for us. And the prime example of that is out in Fairfield at the Antique Mall. And I've talked with the town manager in Fairfield about that. This gentleman paid over $40,000 to fix the problem before. And if you go out there and look at it right now, it's worse than what it was. I mean, it's just a constant battle. And what we're dealing with is civil offenses. And when you're dealing with civil offenses and lawyers and in court, it just takes forever to get it done. It's not like a criminal charge where you can go out there and just summons or arrest. This is a different story. And not that we aren't making progress. I mean, we have made progress. And I know that some of you are thinking it might be a little bit slow, but the other aspect and the other problem that we're having is the courts aren't accepting cases. You know, so we're trying our best to try to talk to these people and trying to convince them to comply, voluntary compliance of the law. That's what we're trying to gain. And, you know, I mean, you get them under control a little bit and they kind of go back. I mean, it's a constant battle. We were up today talking with a gentleman who owns the auto shop up on High Street. It was just mentioned by one of you guys. And, you know, and we told him that this was going to cost him money. And we're trying that route with him again. I mean, he's been an issue ever since our last code enforcement officer's been here. But we're pushing.
I'm good with it as far as the compliance, but I think we need to document it, let her sign the letter that says she's currently in compliance, but I mean, she's right there.
Oh, yeah.
At a borderline.
Next week she'll be out of compliance.
So I mean, I wouldn't let her say that it's a free walk, but just let her know she meets the compliance currently, and at any point in time, we can change, fix the fence. This might be one.
Go on.
I guess I'd agree that we should have at least something from her, and I'm not sure exactly what she still has there. If it is for private use of the property owner. Now, one thing that would bring up a question for all of us from last time was, this vehicle belongs to somebody in Massachusetts, this one belongs to somebody who's coming up next week to get it. And maybe the statement might say something to the effect that all property or everything that you have that is registered to her, and can't be registered to somebody else who doesn't have to be living there. And I think that would just, again, give us something to say, you know, these are the guidelines you had going forward. The progress has been good, but these are the things you're reinforcing that are correct, and that you will cut the fence, and whatever it is.
Right. So I would encourage you on your way home tonight just to drive by that property and take a look at it, just so that you can see what we're talking about. Because I don't think it's as bad as what we might be thinking it is right now. Now, whether she did it for us for today, I have no idea, but it's not that bad. And basically, based on what we're telling you, is she's not out of compliance at this point in time. But I agree, I mean, we could come up with something. I mean, we weren't able to meet with her today. She wouldn't return phone calls or anything, so.
And it doesn't have to be a negative thing, it just says this is the status, we think you
Absolutely.
try to comply, these are the things that we are, we don't even have to ask her for the registrations of the car, it's sure who they belong to. But just say that that's the intent, everything belongs to you, your property, you've got it.
We have hot spots all around town that are bigger fish to fry than this one is at this point in time.
And I guess that's the thing that, I'm one of the ones probably who has spoken to Gary a lot about this type of thing. And I know when we had the ordinance review last time, but you look at some of these places and their whole backyard is just full of junk. Stuff like is listed here is not allowed. And they could put up fences too, I guess, and close everything. But I think we just have to, like Gary said today, it's a slow process. But I guess we have to, pick one out every couple of weeks and look at it and say, this is the next one that should be on our agenda.
Well, in defense of Dave, he sends letters out all the time. And the thing is, he visits with these people, and we can spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars on this thing and probably not be any faster than the way we're doing it right now. And courts being the limiting factor, because we can't get court dates.
I'm sorry.
Just speaking on the court dates, I talked to the town's attorney, just with other stuff we have going in. I asked if he has any even projected court dates. He talked to Waterville District Court. They currently got nothing. They're doing criminal stuff for October right now. So if we get something moving through the court system next year, I mean, it's unfortunately that's where we're at because they were close along. We're in a tough spot.
And that's our hammer, is court on civil cases.
Well, I guess one of the thoughts is that we keep trying to let the people know that they're out of compliance and that at some point this could be a court issue. But right now it's just a...
Yeah, that's never stopped. I mean, we haven't stopped on it. And the other thing is, there's more what's going on in town than just property maintenance. That's a small part of it. I know that's the part that comes out in our face, but I mean, we've got new construction happening. We've got all these permits that are going on that occupy time and space. So we're moving on it.
But the negative effect it has, and I hear this firsthand from the flower people, we spend all this time making these nice downtown areas beautiful, and you go around the corner, and then there's a guy with his junkyard behind his house. Or somebody who won't trim his bushes.
I completely hear your argument, completely agree with you, and I wish I could snap my fingers and make it go away. Yeah.
Regarding the bushes, I spoke to him. He said he would take care of it. And last summer when I talked to him, he did the same thing.
Exactly.
So it's one of them, just prod him. I do believe he will. Last year when I called him, he took great care of it. So.
And I had the chairman of the flower committee in my office today,
I would
explaining the places that I needed to work on tomorrow, and that's what my marching orders are, so I'll be dealing with it.
That's one of the benefits of having the flower people down there.
I love those women. Yep, I'll never say anything bad about them.
Okay, I have comments?
No, I was just gonna say, I think we need to strongly document it so that when somebody says, well, what have you done in the past? We can say, this is the steps, it's documented, this is the case, obviously leave the name out of it, but it's a document for history that we are proactive in it, right?
And, and the thing is, we're police officers, and that's what we're good at. And, that happens.
So just to close this out, so we're moving on here, so you're gonna speak to her about the height of the fence, because we have an ordinance for 6 foot, correct?
Well, we have no rules on fences, but what the building code says, if it exceeds 6 feet,
Okay.
it falls under a structure, and you have to meet the building code. So that's the rule we go with that, because fences, we have nothing in
I
ordinance.
know other towns do that, because I have a business in another town, and they approached me about that 6-foot rule. So
But they did.
we could do a positive reinforcing. You've done a great job picking up. One more thing we have to do is trim the fence to 6 foot, because then it comes under the building structure and.
I mean, there are some rules that allow her to keep it. One of them is an engineered plan to show that it's going to stay up in the winds that are in this area, which would cost more than the fence. I mean, so I would think she would trim it down.
Good. All set with that? Next item is talking about the downtown TIF.
Okay, I talked with Shauna Cook-Mueller about that last week maybe, and she'd love to go and help us set up a TIF. We talked about the different types of TIFs for downtown. If we go with a full downtown TIF district, then we're going to have to come up with a downtown plan. And when you do that, I mean, you have to, it's like any plan, you have to kind of set by it. Whereas if we come up with a partial district, say if we wanted to take the side of the street that the bank blocks on, we don't have to have a plan. We can TIF that part, and that allows us the opportunity to create credit enhancement agreements. It allows us to take money and set it aside for future projects such as facade grants. If we, at some point, decided we wanted to go and build a parking lot or buy a property, we would have a fund for that. We've got the broadband expansion going on, which is going to take, cash, and that we could use it for that. So, I mean, I think that it would behoove us to look at this and get serious about it. I'm not sure that going with the full downtown TIF district is huge, a great idea, because it's going to take over $3 million worth of taxes off the tax roll, or $3 million worth of property value off the tax roll, and I don't think that that's healthy for us, especially in the the economy that we're currently in. I think that if we could take $1.5 million to $2 million out of the tax rolls and set that tax money aside, form a TIF committee like what I said, and they could be the steering committee for how this process works. We did talk money. Shauna said for a basic TIF agreement that